It was now 2 days before the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and the chief priests and the scribes were seeking how to arrest Jesus by stealth and kill him. For they said,
during the feast, lest there be a tumult of the people.
And while he was at Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, as he sat at table, a woman came with an alabaster jar of ointment of pure nard, very costly, and she broke the jar and poured it over his head. But there were some who said to themselves indignantly,
"Why was the ointment thus wasted? For this ointment may have been sold for more than 300 denarii and given to the poor."
And they reproached her. But Jesus said,
"Let her alone. Why do you trouble her? She has done a beautiful thing to me. For you always have the poor with you, and whenever you will, you can do good to them. But you will not always have me. She has done what she could. She has anointed my body beforehand for burying. And truly, I say to you, wherever the gospel is preached in the whole world, what she has done will be told in memory of her."
Then Judas Iscariot, who was one of the 12, went to the chief priests in order to betray him to them. When they heard it, they were glad and promised to give him money, and he sought opportunity to betray him. And on the first day of unleavened bread, when they sacrificed the Passover lamb, his disciples said to him,
"You have to go
and prepare for you to eat the Passover."
And he sent 2 of his disciples and said to them,
"Go into the city, and a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him, and wherever he enters, say to the householder, 'The teacher says, where is my guest room? Where am I to eat the Passover with my disciples?' And he will show you a large upper room furnished and ready. There prepare for us."
And the disciples set out and went to the city, and found it as he had told them, and they prepared the Passover. Now when it was evening, he came with the 12, and as they were at the table eating, Jesus said,
"Truly I say to you, one of you will betray me, one who is eating with me."
They began to be sorrowful, and to say to him one after another,
"Is it I?
Is it I?"
"Is it I?"
It is one of the 12, one who is dipping bread in the same dish with me. For the Son of Man goes at it as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that man if he had not been born."
And as they were eating, he took bread and blessed and broke it. He gave it to them and said,
"Take, this is my body."
Then he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank of it.
"This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many. Truly, I say to you, I shall not drink again of the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new in the kingdom of God."
And when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Jesus said to them,
"You will fall away, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. But after I am raised up, I will go before you to Galilee."
Peter said to him,
"Even though they all fall away, I will not."
"Truly, I say to you, this very night, before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times.
If I must die with you, I will not deny you."
And they all said the same. Now they went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples,
"Sit here while I pray."
And he took with him Peter and James and John, and began to be greatly distressed and troubled. And he said to them,
"My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch."
And going a little further, he fell on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him.
"Abba, Father, all things are possible to you. Remove this cup from me, yet not what I will, but what you will."
He came and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter,
"Simon, are you asleep? Could you not watch 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak."
And again he went away and prayed, saying the same words. Yet again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy, and they did not know what to answer him. And he came the third time and said to them,
"Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? It is enough. Yet the hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand."
Immediately, while he was still speaking, Judas came, one of the 12, and with him a crowd with swords and clubs, from the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. Now the betrayer had given them a sign.
"The one I shall kiss is the man. Seize him and lead him away safely."
And when he came, he went up to him at once and said,
"Master."
And he kissed him. And they laid hands on him and seized him. But one of those who stood by drew his sword and struck the slave of the high priest and cut off his ear. And Jesus said to them,
"Have you come out as against a robber, with swords and clubs to capture me? Day after day I was with you in the temple teaching, and you did not seize me. But let the scriptures be fulfilled."
And they all forsook him and fled. Now a young man followed him, with nothing but a linen cloth about his body. And they seized him, but he left the linen cloth and ran away naked. They led Jesus to the high priest, and all the chief priests and scribes and the elders were assembled. Peter had followed him at a distance, right into the courtyard of the high priest, and he was sitting with the guards and warming himself at the fire. Now the chief priests and the whole council sought testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but they found none. For many bore false witness against him, and their witness did not agree. And some came up and bore false witness against him.
We heard him say, "I will destroy this temple that is made with hands, and in 3 days I will build another, not made with hands."
Yet not even so did their testimony agree. The high priest stood up in the midst and asked Jesus,
"Have you no answer to make? What is it that these men testify against you?"
But he was silent and made no answer. Again the high priest asked him,
"Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed?"
"I am, and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven."
And the high priest tore his mantle and said,
"Why do we still need witnesses? Have you heard his blasphemy? What is your decision?"
And they all condemned him as deserving death. Some began to spit on him and to cover his face and to strike him, saying to him,
"Prophesy."
And the guards received him with blows. Now, as Peter was below in the courtyard, one of the maids of the high priest came, and seeing Peter warming himself, she looked at him and said,
"And you also were with the Nazarene Jesus."
But he denied it.
I neither know nor understand what you mean.
And he went out into the gateway. But the maid saw him and began again to say to the bystanders,
"This man is one of them."
But again he denied it. And after a little while again, the bystanders said to Peter,
"Certainly you are one of them, for you are a Galilean."
But he began to invoke a curse on himself and to swear,
I do not know this man of whom you speak.
And immediately the cock crowed a second time. And Peter remembered how Jesus had said to him, "Before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times." And he broke down and wept. And as soon as it was morning, the chief priests, with the elders and scribes, and the whole council, held a consultation. And they bound Jesus and led him away and delivered him to Pilate. Pilate asked him,
"Are you the king of the Jews?"
You have said so.
And the chief priests accused him of many things. Then Pilate again asked him,
"Have you no answer to make? See how many charges they bring against you."
But Jesus made no further answer, so that Pilate wondered. Now at the feast he used to release for them any one prisoner for whom they asked. And among the rebels in prison, who had committed murder in the insurrection, there was a man called Barabbas. And the crowd came up and began to ask Pilate to do as he was wont to do for them. And he answered them,
"Do you want me to release for you the king of the Jews?"
For he perceived that it was out of envy that the chief priests had delivered him up. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have him release for them Barabbas instead. And Pilate again said to them,
"Then what shall I do with the man you call the king of the Jews?"
Crucify him! Crucify him!
"Why, what evil has he done?"
"Crucify him! Crucify him!"
So Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released for them Barabbas. And having scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. And the soldiers led him away inside the palace, that is, the Praetorium. And they called together the whole battalion. They clothed him in a purple cloak, and plaiting a crown of thorns, they put it on him, and they began to salute him.
Hail, King of the Jews!
And they struck his head with a reed, and spat upon him, and they knelt down in homage to him. And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of the purple cloak, and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him out to crucify him. And they compelled a passerby, Simon of Cyrene, who was coming in from the country, the father of Alexander and Rufus, to carry his cross. And they brought him to Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. And they offered him wine mingled with myrrh, but he did not take it. And they crucified him, and divided his garments among them, casting lots for them, to decide what each should take. And it was the 3rd hour when they crucified him. The inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." And with him they crucified 2 robbers, one on his right and one on his left. And those who passed by derided him, wagging their heads.
Aha! You who would destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross.
So also the chief priests mocked him to one another with the scribes.
He saved others. He cannot save himself. Let Christ, the King of Israel, come down now from the cross, that we may see and believe.
Those that were crucified with him also reviled him. And when the 6th hour had come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice,
Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani,
which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? Some of the bystanders hearing it said,
Behold, he is calling Elijah.
And one ran, and filling a sponge full of vinegar, put it on a reed and gave it to him to drink.
Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come to take him down.
And Jesus uttered a loud cry and breathed his last. The curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. And when the centurion who stood facing him saw that he thus breathed his last, he said,
Truly, this man was the Son of God.
There were also women looking on from afar, among whom were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James the younger and of Joses, and Salome, who, when he was in Galilee, followed him and ministered to him. And also many other women who came up with him to Jerusalem. And when evening had come, since it was the day of preparation, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a respected member of the council, who was also himself looking for the kingdom of God, took courage and went to Pilate to ask for the body of Jesus. And Pilate wondered if he were already dead. And summoning the centurion, he asked him whether he was already dead. When he learned from the centurion that he was dead, he granted the body to Joseph. And he bought a linen shroud, and taking him down, wrapped him in the linen shroud, and laid him in a tomb which had been hewn out of the rock. And he rolled a stone against the door of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of Joses saw where he was laid.